So Jennifer Lopez just had this moment on the Today Show that honestly made me feel like I was watching someone try to tap dance around the landmine. And you know what? I actually respect how she handled it, because what Craig Melvin did was bold, but also kind of necessary for the conversation we all want to have about J-Lo and Ben Affleck's divorce, right? Like, we're all thinking it. But here's where it gets interesting, because this wasn't just your typical awkward celebrity interview moment. This was something way deeper. And I'm going to break down exactly what happened and why it matters more than you think. Craig Melvin literally opened up with asking about her divorce while she's there to promote her new musical film, Kiss of the Spider-Woman. And before he could even finish his sentence, Jennifer cut him off with this energy that was part playful, part defensive, saying, "There you go, look at this guy." And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, this is already getting spicy, but wait until you hear what she said next about Ben's actual role in making this movie happen. Now, here's the thing that nobody's really talking about, and this is where my opinion comes in. I think Jennifer Lopez has been through more public relationship drama than almost any other celebrity in Hollywood, and yet she keeps showing up, keeps being vulnerable, keeps putting herself out there, and honestly, that takes a different kind of strength that I don't think people give her enough credit for. But let me get back to what went down, because Craig wasn't done. He actually doubled down on his question. So after she called him out, Craig defended himself by bringing up the fact that Ben Affleck is actually listed as an executive producer on Kiss of the Spider-Woman, which is this insane detail that makes the whole situation even more complicated. And Jennifer didn't dodge it. She actually gave Ben credit in a way that I found surprisingly mature and refreshing. She said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but this is the essence of it, that if it wasn't for Ben, the movie wouldn't have gotten made. And she will always give him that credit, which is huge, because think about it. How many divorced couples would publicly acknowledge their ex like that, especially when the divorce just got finalized earlier this year in January? Most people would be throwing shade, posting cryptic quotes on Instagram, you know the drill, but Jennifer went the opposite direction. And then she dropped this line that honestly made me pause and think about what she's really been going through. She said, "Things happen, you have to keep going," which sounds simple on the surface, but when you really sit with those words, there's so much weight there, so much pain hidden behind that casual tone. And this is where the interview takes a turn from awkward to actually kind of beautiful in a tragic way. Jennifer started talking about escapism, about how the movie itself is about how art and movies save us during the hardest times in our lives. And suddenly, I realized this wasn't just a promotional interview anymore. This was her therapy session playing out on national television, and we were all witnessing it. She revealed that doing this project was such a dream come true that it literally helped her survive a difficult moment in her personal life. And when Craig said, "It sounds like it might have helped save you," she agreed without hesitation, saying, "It did," with this emotional energy that you could feel through the screen. Now, let me give you some context about their relationship timeline, because this is where it gets even more dramatic and honestly kind of heartbreaking when you see the full picture. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, the couple everyone called Bennifer, they first got together back in the early 2000s, they got engaged in 2004, and then they broke it off, breaking millions of hearts, including probably their own. And then fast forward almost 20 decades later, in 2021, they rekindled their romance, and everyone lost their minds because it felt like a fairy tale, like destiny was finally giving them their second chance. They got married in 2022, and people were rooting for them so hard. Social media was going crazy. Everyone thought this was it. They were going to make it work this time. But then just 2 years after tying the knot, they parted ways again, and their divorce was finalized in January 2025, which means when this Today Show interview happened, the wounds were still fresh. The ink on those divorce papers was barely dry, and here she is having to talk about it on live television. But here's what really got me thinking, and this is something I want you to consider because it changes how you view this whole situation. Jennifer Lopez also did an interview with CBS News Sunday Morning, and she opened up even more about what filming this musical was like while going through her split from Ben. She said it was a really tough time, and every moment on set, every moment she was doing this role, she was happy, But then when she went back home, it was not great. And those words, not great, are doing some heavy lifting there, because you know it was probably way worse than she's letting on. This is what I find fascinating about celebrity culture and how we consume these stories. We want the drama. We want the details. We want to know everything. But sometimes when celebrities actually give us a glimpse into their real pain, it makes us uncomfortable. And I think that's what happened with Craig's question. He asked what we all wanted to know, but Jennifer's response reminded us that there's a real human being with real feelings behind all the headlines and gossip columns. Let me break down what I think is really happening here beneath the surface, because Jennifer Lopez has built her entire brand on being this unstoppable force, this multi-hyphenate entertainer who can sing, dance, act, produce, run businesses, and make it all look effortless. But this divorce situation is showing us that even the strongest people have their breaking points. Even people who seem to have it all together are struggling behind closed doors. The fact that she's choosing to channel that pain into her art, into this musical about escapism, it's almost too perfect, too poetic. And you can see how the project became her lifeline during one of the darkest periods of her life. What Craig Melvin did in that interview, whether it was calculated or spontaneous, was actually give Jennifer a platform to control her own narrative. And I think she sees that opportunity in a really smart way. Instead of getting defensive or shutting down completely, she acknowledged the elephant in the room, gave credit where credit was due, and then pivoted to talking about how art saved her, which is a message that actually resonates with a lot of people who are going through their own struggles, whether it's a divorce, a breakup, or just a difficult chapter in life. Here's another angle that I think deserves attention. The fact that Ben Affleck is an executive producer on this film adds this layer of complexity that makes their story even more interesting. It means he believed in this project, he put his name and probably his money behind it, he helped make it happen for Jennifer, and then their marriage fell apart, but the movie still exists as this testament to what they built together, even if they couldn't stay together. That's bittersweet in a way that I think will make this film even more powerful when people finally see it, because now it's not just a musical, it's a document of a relationship, a moment in time, a collaboration between two people who loved each other and then lost each other. The internet has been going crazy since this interview aired, with people taking sides, analyzing every word Jennifer said, every facial expression, every pause. And that's exactly what happens when you're one of the biggest stars on the planet going through a very public divorce from another massive star. Some people are praising Jennifer for her grace and maturity. Others are saying she should have shut down the question entirely. Some are defending Craig for asking what everyone wanted to know, and others are calling him out for being insensitive. But here's my take after watching the interview multiple times and really sitting with it. I think both of them handled it as well as they could have given the circumstances. Craig asked a tough question, but he did it in a way that wasn't overtly disrespectful, and Jennifer responded with honesty while still maintaining her dignity and giving credit to her ex-husband, which shows character. What this whole situation really highlights is how much we've evolved in how we talk about divorce and relationships in the public eye, because 20 or 30 years ago, this kind of conversation would have been way more tabloid, way more sensational. But now there's this attempt at nuance, at understanding the human element, at acknowledging that relationships end, and that's okay, and people can still respect each other after a marriage falls apart. Jennifer Lopez has been famous for so long. She's had so many high-profile relationships, from P. Diddy to Ben the first time around, to Mark Anthony to A-Rod, and now Ben again. And through it all, she's remained this icon, this symbol of perseverance. And I think that's what makes her story so compelling to people. We've watched her fall in love, get her heart broken, rebuild herself, fall in love again, and the cycle continues, but she never stops working, never stops creating, never stops showing up. And there's something admirable about that, even if you're not a fan of her music or movies. The timing of this interview is also worth noting, because Kiss of the Spider-Woman is clearly a project that means everything to Jennifer. It's a musical, which is her wheelhouse. It's artistic and ambitious. And now it's forever linked to this chapter of her life where she was going through a divorce but found solace in her work. When this movie comes out, people are going to watch it with a completely different lens. They're going to look for clues about what she was feeling. They're going to analyze her performance for signs of the pain she was experiencing, and that's going to add another dimension to the viewing experience that wasn't there before this interview happened. So here's where we land. After breaking all of this down, Jennifer Lopez went on the Today Show to promote her new film, got asked about her divorce from Ben Affleck, handled it with more grace than most people would have, acknowledged Ben's contribution to the project, and opened up about how making this movie saved her during a really dark time in her personal life. And honestly, that's the kind of vulnerability that makes someone relatable even when they're a megastar who seems untouchable. The fact that she didn't run from the question, didn't give some generic PR-approved answer, but instead leaned into the truth of her experience, that's what makes this interview memorable and worth talking about. Whether you love Jennifer Lopez or not, whether you care about her relationship drama or not, this moment on the Today Show was real, it was raw in its own polished way, and it reminded us that celebrities are people too, dealing with the same heartbreaks and struggles that we all face, just with millions of people watching and commenting on every move they make.